How's it going, everybody? Coop here, and today we're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3, my 3 favorite builds for jumping into the game. They're pretty good for beginners, they got a little bit of spice to them, and they're very well balanced, as sometimes the difficulty in this game can very much spike very fast, so having it to where you have a nice character build is good overall. Now keep in mind that this is during the beta, as things are still being added. We don't even have paladins added to the game yet. We just recently got druid and sorcerer, so things are subject to change, and once the game has its full release, I will be doing an updated guide as well for when I find other builds once that's out. But without further ado, let's jump into 3 of my personal favorite builds that I think you guys will enjoy. So for the first build I'm going to be showing you is the life domain with a golden dwarf. So the reason that we do the good old golden dwarf here is, 1, it gets a high amount of constitution, lots of good proficiencies here, dark vision, dwarven resilience, which allows it to be resistant to poison. On top of that, it has a increased health pool and has wisdom. All together really good stuff to make it really tanky coming from the race side. Now coming from the class side, on top of that, you do get heavy armor proficiency, Disciple of Life, allowing it to where healing spells deal even more healing, and you get access to Bless, which is a very good buff. On top of it, Cure Wounds, which is a really good heal, and then from there, the spells that I chose personally was I chose Healing Word, Shield of Faith, Protection of Good and Evil, and Guiding Bolt. On top of that, I have Resistance, Guidance, which are really good buffs, and Sacred Flame. So you get really powerful range-based abilities, you get tons of buffs, and you get tons of heals. On top of having heavy armor and a lot of health, makes it to where you're really tanky, and that's something that's really nice to have, especially going forward. As for the background, I chose the Folk Hero as it gives you animal handling and survival, which goes well with the wisdom that you already have. I like having it to where you double down on skills because it makes it to where your character is for sure always going to pass these checks. So that's why I ended up choosing also Insight and Medicine, making it to where just no matter what, we know that these checks will always pass. As for the ability scores here, I gave myself a 15, making it to where I can do some major big damage down. I have 16 in Constitution, making it to where I am just pretty much always going to survive any major hit that I get. On top of that, I have Wisdom, which allows it to where my spells deal more damage and stuff. Now, what I would be doing from here is trying to level up and put as much strength as possible, or I would try to cap the 20 Constitution and make this guy into a tank. I would be trying to pick up a shield and maybe a sword and kind of go from there and make it to where this character is kind of like the one that leads the charge in a fight, and you don't have to worry about it dying, and if in the chance that one of your companions is low, you can heal them. The next one I wanted to show is the Arcane Trickster Rogue. This is one that I quite enjoy. So the main thing that you're going to be choosing is your origin. You're going to be choosing the stage background, as we're going to be utilizing a lot with our intelligence-based modifier, and by doing that, it's going to give us a lot more sort of proficiency skills, so that way we can interact with magic stuff, and we can also do roguey stuff, which is really cool. Now, on top of that, you're going to be choosing the High Elf race. Now, why are you going to be choosing this? You're going to be choosing for Minor Illusion, a really good spell in the beginning stages, as it is a distraction, and 2, it can also help you get advantage, allowing you to be able to do more sneak attacks. On top of that, they have a variety of different sort of skills here that help out with everything. I like having Dark Vision, and they have Fate Ancestry, which helps out with making it to where you don't fall asleep as well, and on top of it you get intelligence. So we get dex, we get intelligence, we got everything that we could ever want with this. Obviously you're going to be choosing the rogue based class, and for skills you can choose a variety of different ones. What I end up doing is I like acrobatics, as it makes it to where we utilize that skill very well. We could also put it into investigation, which is also a really good one, sleight of hand, and stealth, giving it to where everything you could ever want. You'll be able to investigate things, you'll be able to do sleight of hand and stealth, you'll be able to do acrobatics to dodge any of sort of certain spells that target you based off of that. Now, for the ability points, we don't need strength, so I made that my dump stat. I got dexterity as high as I possibly could, which makes it easy for leveling up, as we just have to put 1 point into dex. So we could pick up a feat that increases our dex by 1, and on top of it get a really nice major feat. The other thing that we're doing is just a 16 in intelligence. We could technically get that up to 18, but a lot of the spells don't really require that high of an intelligence. What I like about this character is it makes it to where you get to utilize a lot of the power of the rogue with a lot of its dex based stuff, but you can also make it to where it can help out in magic based encounters and RP, and a lot of the different things that can pop up with that. And then I made it to where wisdom is balanced at 10, as that way we will be able to utilize the perk that comes with being an elf. So remember, just hit level 3, and then you'll choose Arcane Trickster, and from there you'll have really good setup. You don't have to put points into intelligence, just keep putting it into dex and choosing feats that use dex, and from there you should have a really good time. This build I wanted to talk about is the Bladelock. This is one that you will be also getting right at the start, but this will make it to where you are a combat-based warlock. Very powerful. It takes a little bit of time to kind of adjust, but it's a really fun build altogether. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be choosing the Urchin background, as this will give you sleight of hand and stealth, which will allow us to play more of like a roguey kind of style while also playing as a warlock. From there, you're going to be choosing the Wraith of the Drow or Drow. Depending on how you pronounce it, I know that in different circles people pronounce it differently, as this will give us dex and charisma, which is key. Now, the other thing that is major about this is it gives us rapier proficiency, short sword, and hand crossbow, and superior dark vision. That is the main reason we are choosing this, as this will give us our combat skills that we can use to utilize these different weapons. So having it to where you have a rapier is very powerful. Now from here, what you're going to be choosing is you're going to be choosing the Pact of the Fiend. The Fiend is really the only way that you're going to be able to make this work. The reason that we are doing that is because of Dark One's Blessing. Whenever you reduce a creature down to 0 hit points, you are granted health points. So based off of your Warlock level +1, so in this case we get 2 hit points every time we kill something, which is great. Now, the cantrip they're going to be choosing is Eldritch Blast, because obviously it's one of the most powerful cantrips in the game. It also gives you a range-based ability. The other one that you're going to be choosing is Blade Ward. The reason that you're choosing Blade Ward is any chance that you cannot use your action to do anything, say like your Eldritch Blast is just out of range, this will allow us to do some prep to get us into the fray if when we come out there, and having it to where we are resistant to certain weapon types. Now, the other one that is much needed is Armor of Agathis. See, you are a warlock. You're very, very squishy. So having it to where we can have Armor of Agathis is going to help us out a lot, as this will give us 5 temporary hit points and deal cold damage to anybody that harms us. Now, on top of that, once you get into your Eldritch invocations, you're going to be choosing Mage Armor, as Mage Armor, the Mage Armor feat that gives you it constantly, and the reason that we're doing that is it's going to give us so much more tankiness potential. Now the other one I chose is Hex, as this will give a disadvantage on ability checks. So say like you have a fighter that is right in front of you, you want to put a disadvantage on his strength checks, making it to where every time he attacks you, he has a higher chance of missing or not landing those hits. So very important that you kind of build around that. Now for the skills, I actually did not choose these. I chose what was it? Deception and Intimidation. There we go. So the reason that we're doing Deception and Intimidation is like a way for us to do different things when we're having speech-based conversations, especially once you're the face of the party. On top of that, we have our Perception, which is pretty high, our Stealth, and Sleight of Hand. All this stuff together allows us to be able to be the face of the party while also being able to jump into the fray of combat. So really powerful altogether. Now on top of that, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to get your dex as high as possible. This will allow us to have a higher AC. Due to us having light armor and having dex, that's pretty high. It'll allow us to be less likely to be hit. On top of it, making it to where our weapons are more powerful. Now, on top of that, we will also have a 15 in Constitution, because you're going to need a lot of life to be able to do a lot of the things out there. I make Intelligence, Wisdom, and Strength our dump stats, as we will not need them at all for this character. Now, I kept my Charisma high, as this is, well, the main thing that a Warlock uses, and this will allow us to use more powerful spells. Now, we don't have to worry too much about Charisma, as we won't be using spells consistently. We're going to be using more of like buff spells, like Hex and Armor of Agathis, so having it to where it's a nice comfortable 16 is great. Then, the first time that I level up, I'm going to be putting a point into Dexterity and a point into Constitution, allowing it to get to a 16, giving us a +3, and allowing Dex to get to a +4 with it being an 18. So, really powerful build altogether there. Anyways guys, that is my 3 builds for Baldur's Gate 3. I do have quite a few other builds that I'm working on as well, so if this video does get a little bit of traction in the future, I will post a little bit more out there. Comment down below some of your guys' builds, as I'm interested and I would love to try out and test out a few different ones as well. I am currently working on a Druid playthrough and a Sorcerer one as well, so I will have more of those types of characters later on, as I'm still kind of working it out and beta is doing little changes here and there. But anyways guys, I hope you do enjoy Baldur's Gate 3. If you guys ever need any assistance, you guys can always comment down below and I'm always glad to assist. Anyways, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys next time.